Power InfoSec couple.
Yeah, yeah, quite. Okay, so it gives me immense pleasure to welcome really good friends of the Beer Farmers, people that we've seen around the InfoSec circuit in the last year or two. Incredibly popular. Uh, bring on Jess and FC. Welcome.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Good evening. How you doing, guys?
Good.
Yeah,
Pleasure
very
to
well.
be here. It's been really nice to be listening in for the last hour or so.
Fantastic. It's a pleasure to have you on. So, we know each other, you and the Beer Farmers. We've kind of mingled it around the circuit in the past year or two. I saw you at B-Sides Leeds, I think last year, and you did the FU FUD talk, which was fascinating. It was kind of heart melting in certain places. And it really opened my eyes personally to the sort of human aspects of what it is we're all about and what we do. That was just a little anecdote. And from that point on, I've followed you guys ever since. So again, it's great to have you on. What would you like to talk about this evening?
We can talk about anything you want, really, to be honest. We remember meeting obviously at B-Sides Leeds. That was fantastic. That was the first B-Sides Leeds.
Yeah, Mark did a great job of that.
Yeah, Mark did an amazing job putting it together. And that was a slightly different talk for us, where we talked about fear from a sort of personal perspective, and then we talked about fear in terms of how it's used or misused to try and sell security to people. So we felt like we were taking a bit of a risk doing that talk, but we were really pleased with the response that we got, and we still get people actually messaging us or coming up at conferences and saying that talk sort of meant something to them. So that was really cool.
So we see kind of both sides of what you guys do. Sargent is the business operation that you put in place. I remember it when it was a redacted firm, by the way.
Yeah.
RIP redacted firm.
Yeah.
But I guess, Jess, you kind of focus on the human aspects of what we do, the psychology of InfoSec and the behaviours and all that kind of stuff. And FC, I guess you deal more with the kind of, I don't know, technical. Is that a fair split, or do you kind of both split up what you do and do a bit of both?
Yeah, I'd say it's my side's the technical and the physical side, and Jess is definitely the more human side, straying into the technical in some areas.
Yeah.
I think it's been a good mix of our skills over the last few years.
Yeah, it's what made us really start Sygenta, as we're now called, because we sort of thought we bring those different sides together and we're able to offer something a little bit different with that. And yeah, we felt really, really lucky and really happy with how the business has taken off.
So having watched you develop, I guess, your business over the past year, you seem to do things separately and then you seem to do things together. I know you do a lot of community work down in the Southwest around getting InfoSec and technology engendered in schooling and all that kind of stuff, which I think is wonderful. But could you each give us an example of some of the stuff that you've been doing over the past year?
Yeah, sure. So we do a lot of outreach, and that's something we do kind of on the side of the business, to be honest, but something we're both really passionate about. In terms of the work we do with clients, it tends to be very mixed. Most of our clients are very large multinationals across all sorts of different sectors. I'd say the bulk are in financial services, but we have large retailers, healthcare, education, some marketing companies, law firms. So it's quite a mix. In terms of what I do, it's, as you sort of said earlier, all focused on awareness, behaviour and culture. So I've been in the industry for about 9 years, and I've always focused on the human side. So I work with clients on their awareness raising, everything from helping their strategies through to kind of delivering sessions for them. And then I also do cultural assessments, so help clients understand what their cybersecurity culture is like, in terms of what they want from people and what's actually happening, where people are finding workarounds when it comes to security and why they might be doing that. And then we have a product called CGAP, which also is very focused on awareness raising and doing a sort of measurement of culture at the organizational team and individual level.
Cool. Are you seeing behaviour changing? I work in an enterprise where it's a constant battle to keep awareness high and to implement new controls and get technology bought in and find funding for stuff. Are you seeing? I guess when organisations look at what's happening in the news, and I'm thinking data breaches and all the kind of really high-profile stuff that happens, you would like to think that that's a wake-up call for organisations to start getting the house in order. Are you starting to see that kind of thing happening, or are you finding it still a bit of a struggle?
Well, I think it's awareness, behavior, culture. It's like security in general. It's not something that's ever just fixed. Like you're never just there and it's done.
Yeah.
It's something that's always a process and always needs to be worked on. But definitely, compared to when I started out 9 years ago, and over that time, there's been like a huge shift, I think, in terms of more and more organizations recognizing that the human side is important, recognizing that they need to do something around awareness, that it can't just be like tick box approach, once a year training for people, or you kind of boring click through computer-based training. So I think it's definitely changed. I think the amount that it hits the headlines does make a difference, but sometimes it's about engaging the particular organization or particular teams within an organization as to how it's relevant to them. Because sometimes people can kind of think, oh, well, it's insecurity stuff that other companies need to worry about or other people need to worry about. People can have a bit of a tendency to think it's never going to happen to them.
Sure.
I want to jump in with something. So two things. The first is just a huge compliment to Jessica, who I meet a lot on the more corporate-y circle, where she's frequently sought out facilitator and guest speaker. And it's always lovely to run into you, and you always have a kind word and are just super upbeat. So I want to say that. Then I want to bounce over to Freaky, because I feel a little bit of a kindred spirit with him, because both of us, I think, have done some time in some organizations. The mileage that we've put on our bodies and stuff like that. Freaky, is it getting harder or is it getting easier?
Yeah, I always like the saying that at some point you're going to have to start to do some running, and that's never more truer in our organizations and the stuff that we've done. It is tough on the knees. And as I'm getting older, I'm running less.
Do you find though that it's that the physical side of the security thing, like when you're trying to get into a place or whatever, do you find like it is getting a bit tougher, like people are hardening their defenses, or do you still find it's like a hot knife rolling through butter?
So I've been doing this for coming up to 30 years now.
Yeah.
Breaking into all sorts of places.
Started when he was 10 years old, people.
I know I'm a lot older than I
look.
Yeah, it's the baseball cap. It gives it an air of youngness.
We have absolutely no idea, FC, whether you have any hair under the hat.
Yeah.
Well, I'll share a photo in the next couple of weeks that will show you what's under my hat.
We can't wait.
But yeah, have I seen an increase in security and has it got harder? No. In a word, no, it hasn't. I've still got 100% success rate getting into everywhere. It's never going to change because of that's how social engineering and physical assessments always work. There's always a way in. There's always something, and if you're trying to fix everything, you're going to fail. You can only sort of mitigate when it goes wrong. So has it got better? No.
Have you ever been bounced from a client where you were like, I didn't think, they would have had the process and procedures in place, but then you go into like a really high security place and they're just like completely laissez-faire?
Yeah, it's kind of odd. Like you think that the more secure places are going to be better at it, but they're generally not. It's a very odd world that they live in, I think, sometimes.
Cool.
One thing I wanted to ask is, I always see you two jetting off all over the world, posting some amazing photos, which I'm sure there's that lovely aspect to it. But is there also some sort of downsides? How do you guys cope being away from home so much? Is there any advice you can give anyone?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Like, we are constantly aware of how privileged we are, and the fact that a hard day for us is not like, you know what I mean, we're still in an amazing industry doing amazing work. And so we constantly feel privileged by it. We get to go to great places, see beautiful parts of the world, and we love what we do. So you know what that's like. It's amazing when you can do something you're passionate about. But of course, it is tiring. So we've both flown the equivalent of over twice around the world this
just this year.
Wow.
So it is tiring, and sometimes we get to do it together, which is amazing. Often we're doing it apart, so sometimes one of us is in one part of the world and we come back and the other one's just flown off somewhere else.
Yeah.
So we constantly have like a suitcase packed, and I think the most important thing is actually being organized. Knowing where you're going and what you're doing, and having stuff as organized as you can is really helpful.
We do have someone to do that for us, which makes a massive
Shout out,
difference.
Richard. But also kind of taking the downtime when you can. Anyone who is listening that works freelance or runs a business, probably, especially if it's in the early stages, will know that you don't really get time off. You don't really take weekends or holidays and stuff. But naturally, there's times of the year that are a bit quieter. So over Christmas, obviously, people don't really want much awareness raising or pen tests or conference talks and stuff. So it's taking that downtime when it comes and looking after your health really as much as possible. I've been traveling for work the whole time I've been in the industry. So after 9 years, after sort of 7 years, slipped a disc and was kind of coping with that for the last couple of years. So yeah, look after your physical health, and your mental health, because it does take it out of you. So you have to make sure that you look after yourself first, and then you're able to do your job.
So FC's got bad knees and you've got a bad back, and
I know, we're doing great. We
Yeah.
watched The Nightmare Before Christmas last week, and I said that I felt like, is she called Sally?
The corpse bride.
The corpse bride. I felt like her sometimes, like stitching myself back together on weekends.
It does feel like that. I mean, I've been quite poorly for the past couple of months, and I think it's just been a cold, and I feel like I'm coming out of it, but it does take it out of you. And I think we've been nowhere near as busy as you guys, but we've kind of done a conference nearly every month, and then we've done a lot of podcasts and all that kind of stuff. And I think just the thinking about it and the planning and getting involved in it does wipe you out. I've found it's wiped me out. People talk about conflict. I've probably left every conference this year, and 2 or 3 days afterwards, I've felt ill because of being highly strung about it, or nervous about the delivery of it and the success of it and that kind of stuff. And I think that in itself isn't healthy. Never mind if you're drinking or you're eating crap food or all that kind of thing. I think just the behaviour of being in the circuit and getting involved at that level can be quite tiresome and have a profound impact on your health.
Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
I was going to say it's all of the things that people don't really think about, like after a conference, the hundreds of people that come up and want photos or want to talk to you for a while. You can leave those feeling really drained.
Yeah,
it's a mental exhaustion that you sort of come out of and you go, oh my god, like I thought it was going to be easy, but actually I just need to sleep for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
For me, one of the things that and I assume it's going to be even worse for the likes of you guys, where you guys are all around the globe giving several talks, but it's also the lead up. There's a lot of preparation. Certainly from our side, I find like the amount of effort that actually goes into some of these things is pretty significant. A lot of times it just seems like you throw a bunch of slides together, you get on stage, you give a talk, and it's all done. It's often not quite the case. So how do you guys cope with that? I mean, that must take a lot of work to give a lot of these talks and that.
Yeah, I think that sort of really, you've hit on what differentiates just casual speakers and professional speaking is you have to put in a lot of work. We got a lot of people that kind of come and ask us to do a free talk for this or that, or or just incredibly low price. And they go, well, you're only on stage for half an hour. And you're like, yeah, but it's actually 20 years of experience and 3 days of time to sort of build up the talk that you require. They don't see all of the work that goes into it. And that can be really tough if you don't plan for it, if you sort of just go, okay, I've got a talk next week, I'm just going to do the slides at the last minute. It's never going to be as good or as polished as the client needs.
Yeah, and I think when you're passionate about it, you want to do the best job that you can. So obviously that means preparing as much as possible, and preparing it so that it's right for the people in the room and that they're going to get the most value from it, and so that you can then really feel good when you leave, knowing that you gave it your all, which is great, and I think it's the right way to approach it. But of course, that takes time, and you have to build that in and be aware of that.
Yeah, and
So
I think when
No, go
when
ahead,
people
Freaky.
sort of say, oh, I get really nervous before a talk and stuff. Like, do you get nervous, like speaking in front of like hundreds or thousands of people? Jess and I have a thing where we don't really get nervous about giving a talk, but we're more nervous about the client being sort of, what's the word I'm looking for?
No idea.
It's like making
Cheese.
sure that, yeah, cheese would be great. But making sure that the client gets what they wanted. That we've delivered the best thing that we can. And I think if you're not planning for that, then it's never going to be as good as it could be.
Yeah.
So I have just kind of a question. It's a bit personal, but I mean, obviously, you both have got a huge profile in the information security community. How do you keep connected between just the two of yourselves? I mean, clearly, the demands of the public and the demands of the clients are huge. How do you carve out enough time for yourselves?
We just tweet at each other.
Yeah, is that what you've reduced your liking and sharing, a Ryan Reynolds type of relationship? Is that it?
Wow.
Yeah, we tweet really good gifts at each other.
Yeah, we're gift masters.
That's the secret to a good relationship.
Yeah, we like Jess says, we try and take the time out that we can whenever we can. If a client's willing to pay for us to be in a country for another day or two, we'll take it. If we get to a weekend and there happens to be a small amount of work to be done, then we'll get that done quickly and then just chill out, watch a movie, just try and make as much time as we can for each other. And
I actually think working together, it's kind of demanding in one way when you're a couple, but I think it works so well for us.
Yeah.
And if just one of us was running the business and the other one was kind of doing a job somewhere else, then it would be harder probably for us to stay connected. But we're going in the same direction. We work on the business together, so that actually I think is something that's really beneficial for us.
I agree. I think sorry, FC. I think the perception is that you are an incredibly strong unit, and I think it's partly down to the point I made at the beginning that you cover bases around what we're trying to achieve. We all do kind of our own individual little thing to contribute to the betterment of the industry and security generally. But I think you combine in such a way that people probably just assume that you are the package, as it were, if that makes any kind of sense.
Some people don't even know that we're married, which is really weird.
Well, that's a pretty good upset, right?
Like some people aren't on Twitter. It shocks me.
What?
Wow.
What?
Most people don't know that we're married.
Well, listen, we've got 1 minute left, and just a quick one, really. What have you got planned for next year? What's coming up?
Oh, I've got a book coming out.
Wow.
I'm in the midst of trying to finish that draft before Christmas, which I'm going to do. Publisher, yes, I definitely will. So yeah, that coming out in June, which is exciting for me personally.
What's the broad subject of the book, Jess?
It's an intro to cybersecurity, particularly for those who are early on in their career in the industry or wanting to get into the industry.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's not the sort of like Andy's book that it's slightly different.
Well, Andy's book's great for pen testers. Mine is kind of it's kind of trying to take a broad look at the industry from the human, the technical, and the physical sides.
Yeah.
Will you cover the importance of writing a good email?
Don't email.
I'll keep notes of that. Yeah, it's an important skill.
We could all benefit from that, couldn't we? FC, what about you? What you got going on?
So my biggest thing is actually going to be promoting my wife, which is she's giving a keynote at RSA in February,
Oh, awesome.
which is
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
One of one of only the few
absolutely
women that ever get to do that.
yeah. To be asked to keynote at RSA is unbelievable, and one day I hope to strive to be as good.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you both for sharing your time with us this evening. It's been a pleasure having you on. Next up, we've got Becky Pinkard. Yep, all that remains is Jess and FC. Thanks ever so much, and we'll see you back in a couple of minutes.
Thanks
Thank you
so
very
much
much.
for having
Bye-bye.
us.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
guys. Thank you.
Just lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very cool.
Awesome.